Good evening. Happy Thursday. Welcome back to the Man Cave once again. Brother Jeff,
Howdy.
sunny Florida.
Sunny, hot, humid Florida.
That's the way it's been here this week. We've been in the 90s this week with a lot of high humidity. Tanya's not going to be with us tonight. We're going to be running just me and you. So I'll
Hang on, I
try
gotta
to
turn my light back on.
somebody turn the lights off on Jeff. How about that?
Yeah,
He
somebody
forgot to
done
pay his
left me in the
power bill.
dark.
He forgot to
Left
pay
me
his
in the
power
dark.
bill. Yeah. Okay. Ryan, Mike, and Boder, glad you guys could be with us tonight. We got some of the regulars rolling in here once again. It's we're winding down. Next week will be the last one of these, so I'm gonna miss it, to be honest with you guys. I am, but I am really struggling for content these days, so I'm not gonna drag it out. So Robert, glad you could make it in here with us. Yep, I'm ready for a bourbon. Jeff, are you having a drink tonight, or are you drinking water again?
No, I'm having a drink tonight if it doesn't put me under the table as tired as I am.
Oh yeah, I need it for that tonight. But I'm gonna hit this benchmark foolproof again tonight. Same thing I had last week. I am I'm ready. We'll pour a little. We'll pour a heavy pour of that tonight. It's been a day. Or it's been a week. I've had a I've had some challenges this week that I'm glad to be by, but I haven't gotten a lot to do. I haven't done many man cave things this week. Didn't get to do a lot of cooking, but I did manage to pull off a little bit of cooking. I'm glad I got it done early. I did it on Tuesday this week, and had I not done that, it wouldn't have been done. So, uh, cheers, everybody, from the
Cheers.
man cave. Mm. Russ, glad you
Dang,
could
it looks
make it
good.
with us. Yep. Let's see. Boder, glad you can make it in. Ryan, I'm not really going anywhere. We're just canceling the live stream, and I'm retiring the Man Cave Meals Facebook page. I'll still have my personal page, and I'm going to encourage everybody that wants to. You can follow along there. I set the page up where you can follow, and when I feel compelled to post something about cooking, I will just post it on my personal Facebook page there, and then I will. It's not going to be. I'm not going to post things as detailed as I do on Man Cave Meals. I'm not going to be producing the level of content. I'm not going to put photographs. I'm not going to do any more like I've been doing. Like I'm going to do tonight. I'm going to show you a cook that I did on Tuesday, and I'm going to show you the details through photos. I'm going to stop doing that. I might post one or two photos of something that I've done and then talk about it and maybe share the recipe if it's something worth sharing. But uh, that's where it's going to come down the pipe. So, uh, yeah, here's a Ryan. Brian's got a good point here. This is something I haven't looked at myself lately. It's time for me to do that here at the Man Cave. For those of you that are cooking on Kamado grills, check the check your band tightness, especially if you like to cook really hot. And that's uh, that's something that's important. Keep your bands tight. Let's see. Mike says, why not just have an hour session, having a few drinks and talking about whatever? Well, I could do that, and we'll consider that maybe. I will possibly consider that, but one of the things I am going to do is stop my subscription to this software that I'm using to broadcast the live stream with. They have a free version, but it's kind of limited. It doesn't give me the functionality that I have here. Facebook's own live streaming platform is really crappy. They've never taken it to the level here of something like StreamYard. So I don't know if I find something worth going live about, I might. But the kind of what Facebook has built in is designed for those quick, short, live videos that you make with your phone. They're not really set up to do what we
For
do here.
podcast.
Yeah, this is more of a video podcast, right? There's a lot more content. So, Mike, glad you could make it with us. Mike saved me this week. He talked me into trying something I never would have done. Did you see my post, Jeff, about my
Yep.
extra big and loud timer? I dropped that thing out here on the deck the other day. I had it outside while I was timing some stuff. And ThermalWorks stuff. You're familiar with ThermalWorks products. That stuff's all built like a tank. The stuff is built to last. And I've had that thing. I'm guessing for 8 or 9 years now. I went to look up and I can't find out when exactly I bought it, but I've had it a really long time. And I dropped it and I know it landed on the corner. And when I picked it back up, the display was off, and it was chirping. It was just chirping randomly, like the alarm was going off. And when I would press the keys, nothing would happen, but it might chirp occasionally. And I took the battery out of it to get it to quit chirping randomly. And Mike's a friend of the family, and Mike is an electronics guy. He knows about stuff like this and how it works. And he offered to have a look at it. And he asked me what was wrong, and I told him. I told him just what I just said here, but I said also when I shake it, I can tell that there's something loose in there rattling around that wasn't rattling around before. Well, it turns out that what was rattling around was apparently the battery. That thing's got a 9-volt battery in a compartment in there, and I had taken the battery out, like I said, to keep it from chirping randomly. So today I took it apart, and I actually went further than I needed to go. I took the whole back off of it, which was a chore in itself because this thing's got water resistance built into it, which mine no longer has, thanks to me taking it apart. But but it works, and I don't leave that thing out in the rain, so I'm not worried about it getting wet. But when I put the battery back in it, I noticed that it wasn't fitting. It was fitting in there, but it wasn't fitting snugly. The two little metal pieces that make contact with the battery terminals weren't making good contact with it. So I pushed those out and bent them out where they made good contact and where they pressed that battery into its area better. And then I turned around and looked at the display, and the display's on. So I put the case back on it. This is one thing I don't like about ThermalWorks. You have to have a little screwdriver to get into the battery compartment of a lot of the ThermalWorks stuff. And I would rather it be a slip-off thing, but I put it back on, and right now everything looks good. It looks like it's working. So my extra big and loud timer's been resurrected. I'm going to name it Lazarus because it's has come back from the dead. So that's good news, but it's bad news in a way also because I had talked myself into buying the ThermalWorks Time Stack, which is a newer version of this thing that's got 4 timers built into one unit. You can have 4 individual timers running. And I don't want to hear the comments about use your iPhone or use your phone or use your watch or whatever. I hate to admit it, but I think I'm too old for that. It's not that I can't. It's just that I don't want to. I don't have my phone attached to my body when I'm at home. Usually my phone will be sitting on my desk or sitting on a table upstairs. I just don't have it on my body. And I don't have a smartwatch in terms of an Apple Watch or a Samsung watch that integrates with my phone. I'm using a Garmin instead. And I like the timer. I like my timer. It's something I've been using long enough. I don't really want to switch. I know I could use the phone, but I just don't want to. It's not. Jeff, do you use your phone to time stuff?
No.
it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do. It's
I
just,
use Alexa.
It's just Alexa. Well, see, that's, people were talking about that too. Alexa's fine. Will Alexa handle multiple timers at the same time for you?
I don't know. I've never tried.
I haven't either, but I don't have an Alexa on my deck outside. I don't have one out there, and I would have to put one out there to use it because I do most of my cooking outside. I don't cook that much in the house, and I
Neither
don't.
do I.
I just, yeah, I don't have one of those out there. I could put one out there, I guess, but I just don't. I just don't feel the urge to use that to do this stuff with. Google and Facebook and Amazon already have too much information on me. I don't like them being able to hear everything I say all the time. So, and I know they're listening because I can't remember what it was earlier this week or the week before. Tanya and I were talking about something. I had not once keyed it into my phone or a search or anything. I was talking about something, and that day and all day the next day, that thing kept popping up in my Facebook feed. So I know Facebook's listening or something. They're listening somewhere, but who knows? But I like
Alexa
that timer.
handles 10 timers simultaneously.
Yeah.
Is it 10 o'clock in the morning or in the evening?
It's neither. Shut up, Alexa.
Yeah, I don't know. And if I had Alexa out there working on the deck, running a timer, and I'm back in here, I'm not going to hear it. And one of the interesting things is this extra big and loud timer that I have, when if I've got the volume up all the way on it, if it's chirping on my deck outside, I can hear it in the house. That's how loud that little chirp will be on that if I've got it turned up.
But the nice thing about Alexa is you can tell it to announce the timer on all your devices.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Well, I've got two Alexa devices here in the man cave, so one of them is an Echo Show, one of the original
Yep.
Echo Shows, and the other one is my JBL speaker that I have back there that Stephen Hickey talked me into buying. That's got an integrated Alexa also, and unfortunately, both of those are sitting on the same desk back there. I've named them two different things where I don't accidentally activate both of them every time I use one. But anyway, the timer's working, and Mike inspired me to try, and I'm glad he did because he saved me $69 because I would have turned around and bought that time stack. So thanks, Mike. I appreciate the incentive. What Mike said, he said one thing when I was talking to him. Mike knew my father. Mike and my dad were good friends, and when Mike was telling me, when I was telling him what would happen if I tried to take that thing apart, he came back with a comment. He says, "Your dad would have tried it," and that pushed me over the edge. That made me say, I got nothing to lose because it wasn't working. And when he said your dad would have tried, my dad would have for sure, without even thinking twice about it. He'd have torn into it. But so when he said that, I figured I had to do it. So maybe that's some divine intervention happening there. Maybe my dad had a hand in me getting that thing working again.
We're going to get you mechanically inclined yet, John.
No, you're not.
Yeah,
Not
we
at
are.
this point. But it's working, and I'm happy about that. I'm going to keep using it. But guys, if you should need a timer, a great kitchen timer, this ThermoWorks. It's called the Extra Big and Loud Timer. It's amazing. It's $39, or you can get that time stack version of it that's $69. That'll run four simultaneous timers. It's worth the money. The time stack has a feature that's kind of cool. It's got a voice recorder on it, so you can record what you want the alarm to be. You can say, "Hey, check the chicken," and have it say that back to you when the alarm time's up, if you want to. I thought that was kind of a cool feature. You can't make Alexa do that. So, but this thing you can't voice command it. Maybe down the road, but this thing's currently not. It's not connected. But anyway, Brian, I'm having the same thing I had last week. I'm into this foolproof benchmark. It's that's what I keep telling people is the best bang for the buck in foolproof bourbons. Yeah, Brian, I'm the same way. I don't have my phone with my phone will be out there with me on the deck if I'm cooking, if I'm going to need to take pictures, because I take all my pictures with my phone these days. But if I'm not planning on taking pictures, the phone's not out there. So yeah. And Russ has got a sage comment here. Not everything needs to be connected. This is a conversation I've had with a lot of people, and Jeff knows it because I'm sure I sound like a broken record in our little chat groups talking about this. But when it comes to the grill and smoker business today, people won't buy it unless it's a smart grill, unless it can be connected to the internet, unless they can change the temperature on their low and slow cook while they're at little Johnny's soccer practice. You know, they feel the need for that. And I'm not saying having it's a bad thing. Having it can be useful, but I tell you this, in my cooking experience, I have yet to change the temperature on a cook while I was away from home. Have you done it, Jeff? Have you done it out of a necessity? And Jeff and I cook a lot. We run a lot of cooks that are 16-hour cooks, and I have not once needed to change the temperature when I'm away from home. I know, I guess experience may play some bit of a role in that, because Jeff and I have been cooking long enough. We know about when things are going to happen. We know when we need to be home. I know how, when my pork butt is sitting at 180 degrees on the smoker and I'm cooking it at a certain, if I've got it up at 300 degrees and it's wrapped at that point, I know how long I've got till I need to tend to it. I've got about an hour and 15 minutes, maybe an hour and a half tops, or so I'm going to say between an hour and 30 minutes, that butt's going to be ready to come off at that temperature, because I'm in the latter part of the way I cook it. I've done it. We've done it so many times. We know when it's going to happen, and it will vary, but it's not going to vary a whole lot. And
the only time that I had an issue was, remember that one brisket that I cooked that took frickin' forever?
Yeah.
That was just a strange piece of meat. I mean, I have never, ever had a brisket take that long.
Right.
I mean, how many hours did I cook that brisket, John?
I don't know, but I'm wondering if you had it in a grain of fat somewhere.
No, because it wasn't dry, when I took it off. But man, I tell you, I'm going to say that thing went like 16, 17 hours.
Yeah. Thomas is my coworker. He's going to cook some dry aged steaks tomorrow. That's going to be awesome. Thomas works with me at the hospital, and we work that overnight weekend shift together on Saturday and Sunday nights. I'm by myself on Friday night, and he's by himself on Monday night, but both of us are there on Saturday and Sunday. That's good to hear, Thomas. Let me know how you like those. Janice is here with us tonight. Good deal. Janice made some of my recipe hot dog chili today.
And she liked it.
Was it today or yesterday she made it?
I think it was today.
I can't remember. My
days pictures today, so I'm assuming.
Okay, yeah. My days have run together this week, but she said something that made me happy when she said it. She said that she tasted it, and just tasting it reminded her of hot dogs, and that's exactly what that chili's for. It's exactly what that chili does. It's a perfect condiment chili for hot dogs or nachos or hamburgers. It's a best version of the kind of chili you'd expect to get on a hot dog if you ordered a chili dog somewhere. I've never had a chili dog somewhere where the chili was as good as that, but it's the kind of flavor you're going to look for. The main ingredient in that recipe that gives it that sense is the yellow mustard, I believe. the yellow mustard puts it into that realm. So awesome.
Thought you were going to say
I'm gonna have a
capsule
hard-
ribbon you put in it.
Yeah. I'm going to have a hard time keeping up with the comments tonight, guys, because Tanya is, she's not with us. So, Ryan wants to know if you made my pimento cheese, because I know Ryan likes it. I don't know if Janice is into pimento cheese or not. We'll have to let her tell us. I made a batch of that, and I'm still working on it.
I'm going to have to look at your recipe again for pimento cheese versus Ryan Lane's recipe.
I stole an idea from Ryan Lane. That's where I got the idea to use SPF 53 in mind. Does his recipe use that? Or he had a recipe on his website at one time for pimento cheese that used SPF 53. So I made a round of mine, and when I made it, I excluded my garlic, onion, and chipotle powder, and used his SPF 53 in it, and it was very good. So
Let me see if I can find his recipe. That he
there
sent me.
there was one on his website, on Lane's Barbecue website at one time, that used his SPF 53, and that's a good spicy rub, guys. It's one of the few Lane's rubs that I would keep on hand all the time if I was buying commercial rubs. That SPF 53s would be on my must-have list. So, well, anyway.
Yeah, he uses the Spellbound hot rub in his.
Okay, well, he's changed his recipe since I looked at it. But anyway, guys, I'm going to run you through this cook I did on Tuesday right quick. I wanted to make kind of a man cave version of Pigs in the Blanket. So I looked up. I didn't use a bread recipe that I've used before. I looked up a new one that I wanted to try. That's not really it's not what's a lean dough. A lean dough, when you hear somebody talk about a lean dough, that's a bread that's just flour, water, salt, and yeast. This is an enriched dough that's got sugar and egg and butter in it as well. So at the end of these pictures, I'll have a slide that's got the recipe I used. So I measured out my flour, and I just used King Arthur all-purpose flour in this. And the other ingredients that are going in it are some milk that I warmed up to about 110 degrees. I've got sugar, salt, yeast, 1 egg, and 4 tablespoons or so of butter that are going into this. So
that looks so much like a Japanese milk bread, John.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of like a dinner roll. This bread has kind of like a dinner roll flavor to it when it's done. But I took my salt, sugar, and yeast and whisked it in with my flour before I started, and then I drizzled in the milk. And after the dough started to come together just a little bit, I put my butter in, and then I added my egg. And I just let that mix until it was mixing and starting to pull away. I went back and added a little bit more flour to this because this dough was a little bit slack, and I didn't really want a really slack dough for what I was going to be doing here. And you'll see why in a few minutes. So I added enough additional flour to this to where it would knead and pull away from the bowl cleanly. So after I let that run for probably 16 or 17 minutes in the KitchenAid with the dough hook. So I dumped it out, and I made a tighter dough ball out of it. I actually kneaded it by hand for a few more minutes also to add some more gluten. I was doing the Windapane test. I wanted to be able to pull a semi-decent Windapane on that before I stopped. And so I got it to that at this point. And then I just put it in a bowl that I had puffed with a spray of Pam, and then put a towel over it, and I let it rest on the counter. It took it about 90 minutes down here in the man cave. I didn't put it in my proofing oven, and I should have, because it was 64 degrees down here. So it took 90 minutes for me to get that doubled up. So while it was rising, I went ahead and lit up my Kamado Joe, and I put some charcoal in there and lit it with my torch. And then I brought the Dojo out. I haven't used the Dojo in a while. And this is a good cook to use a Dojo on because it helps with the browning. So I set it up to run at 375, and I use the fireboard to control the temp. So here's my dough after it had doubled up. So I punched it down and I put it out on a floured workboard and I cut it into 12 equal pieces. And I used my scale to try to get them as equal as possible. I weighed the dough and divided it out by 12, and I needed roughly 75-gram dough balls here to do what I was going to do. There was enough here to make 12 dough balls, but I was only making 8 of these because I only bought one 8-pack of some cheap hot dogs to try this recipe to see if it's something I wanted to do again. So after I got those out, I got the dough. I used a rolling pin and kind of rolled the dough out into a flat rectangle. And I put the hot dog on there and kind of rolled one leaf around it like you see there. And then I took my bench knife and cut the what was hanging out there into strips and then rolled it up where that dough is going to have some texture to it on the outside of the hot dog after it cooks. So I did that to 8 of these things, and I took one of my bigger pizza pans, and this is like a 16-inch, 15 or 16-inch deep dish pizza pan from Lloyd Pans. I trimmed up a piece of parchment paper to put in there, and I covered this guy up and let it rise for another 20 minutes. And after that had done, I got a Dutch oven on my stove, and I wanted to try to turn half of these into pretzels, to pretzel buns instead of regular bread. So in order to do that, I put that's a 5-quart Dutch oven. I filled it about 2/3 of the way with water, and I put about a tablespoon of baking soda in there and brought it up to a simmer. And I put 4 of these out of the 8 that I did in there for about a minute to try to, turn these into pretzels. So after that, I put them back on the parchment paper, and I brushed them with an egg wash. I made an egg wash with 1 egg and about 2 teaspoons of water, and I hit each of those with an egg wash. And on the right here, these are the ones that went in the pretzel bath, and the ones on the left are the ones that didn't. You can see there that those are a little more puffy. So they're going to need 30-ish minutes at 375. And here's what they look like after they're done. I think I actually went about 35 minutes on these. But the thing is these pretzel versions over here didn't pretzelize themselves, for lack of a better word. And it turns out I didn't research why they didn't, but I have my thoughts that they didn't turn into pretzels because of the ingredients I used in that dough. I have a feeling that the amount of butter and sugar that was in this dough kept that from happening. I might try it again with a leaner dough and see what happens, but these look beautiful here. They browned up nicely, and I really like that texture that's on the outside of these things from the little cutting I did as I rolled those up. I could have spent a little more time on that maybe and made those a little nicer looking and left a little bit of the hot dog hanging out of both ends of it. That's what I would have really liked it to look like. But maybe if I do these again, I'll have a prettier result. But this was an experimental cook, so I just took one while it was warm and got myself a little plain yellow mustard, and they're delicious. These were absolutely delicious. I've got no complaints about them whatsoever. And this is one of those things that you could get creative with. You could do whatever you want. You could do this with, you could turn this into a breakfast sausage thing by putting breakfast sausage in it if you wanted to, or you could do it with a brat, or you could do it with an Italian sausage or whatever you feel like. But this is the ingredients I used to make this, and I didn't write out the directions with any detail because, like I said, this was a test, and I just put in there. I need the dough. You rise it till it's doubled. You punch it down. You divide it into 12 pieces. You shape, cut, and wrap the hot dogs with the dough. Let it rise for 20 more minutes, and then you make your little egg wash, and hit it with the egg wash. And I was expecting 20 to 30 minutes in the oven at 350. But like I said, whenever I bake in the Kamado Joe, I always run at least 25 degrees hotter than I normally would because it for some reason or another, the baking always seems to take longer in the Kamado Joe. And it took 35 minutes at 375 to get where I was that you saw there. So that's the end of that. That's the cook I did on Tuesday. So thoughts on that, Jeff?
Look good. The only thing I would have done is on this pretzel ones. I think I would put after you did the egg wash, put some real coarse salt on them.
Either that or sesame seeds, even.
Either one, yeah, that would have been good too.
I'm gonna do this again. I'm gonna modify the bread recipe and probably make. I'll probably just try it with a simple lean dough and leave the milk. We'll be working with water and no butter. We're not going to have butter. If I have any, I might have a little sugar in there, but not a whole lot. That I just don't think the baking soda does what it's supposed to do when I've got that much fat in the bread. I need to ask somebody that knows about making pretzels if that's the case. The soft pretzels that you buy, like these pretzel shops at the mall and whatnot, they're a light, airy dough like this bread, but I just don't know I don't know what the ingredients are made from. I've made pretzels. Well, I guess that's probably what I need to do is I just need to go back and pull one of my pretzel dough recipes and use that and have a look at those. But they I've done these before. This was a very old Man Cave Meals video that I did where I did a pretzel brat of some sort. Let me, just out of curiosity, I'll see if I can find that recipe on the Man Cave Meals page. It's a very old video. I've made pretzel sandwich rolls. I guess maybe, no. Pretzel wrapped cheddar brats. So let me get up. This is what those guys look like. This picture doesn't. These weren't quite done in this picture. I don't think they weren't browned up nicely. And I was cooking on my Acorn, so that gives you some idea of how old this video is. That video is 12 years old. I published that video on September the 17th of 2012. So that one's way back. I'll probably go to my, I've got these Oktoberfest Asiago pretzels. The spicy pretzels with beer cheese is a Man Cave Meals video from 2 years ago. I could probably use that dough. These pretzel sandwich rolls would be a good dough to use for that also. And that video is also 12 years old. But I don't know. I think it's in the recipe. It's in the ingredients I chose to use where it didn't take that that process very well. What you got there? Is that your new knife? Oh, did you buy another one? Did you buy the short chef? Is that the 6?
5-inch utility.
Oh yeah, didn't you? Yeah, I thought you'd showed me that one already. I think.
No, I just got this week.
Oh, did you? What was the last one you bought?
The last one I bought was the slicer.
Slash. Oh, maybe you told me you were getting it.
Yeah, I told you I was
Yeah.
gonna pick it up.
Did you
This
get it at that
thing-
outlet?
No. I got it at AGC. The outlet wasn't having any sale. I checked there first, and they were the same price as AGC, so I went to AGC to get it.
I'd like to get the 6-inch chef. I also want the 4-inch paring knife. I don't know that I'd have much use for the utility. The utility knife, I could make use for it, but
You can use this as your paring knife.
yeah, it's
Boning
too long
knife.
for a paring knife.
No, it's not.
I get my thumb down on the point of that blade when I'm taking the tops out of tomatoes. I gotta have a short one. I've got a 4-inch and a 3.5-inch paring knife. Yeah, it might work, but I like the shorter knife better for that. But
I
I
love these Kramers. I mean,
yes, I do
You
too,
know-
but they're expensive.
they're what?
I love them too, but they're expensive. I've only got one of them because of that.
Well, I got 3 of them, and
Yeah. Well, I don't have Jeff money anymore.
well, I don't either. But next one I get's going to be the Santuca. I want that
Yeah,
blade.
if I buy another one of those, I will the next one I would probably buy would be the 6-inch chef. When I think about utility knife, the knife that I pick up is one of my boning knives. That I double a boning knife. I've got 2 Victorinox boning knives over there.
Yep.
One
Those are the
one
best
of
things.
them, both of them have 6-inch blades, but one of them is firmer, and the other one's got more flex to it. So I find that I'll use both of those for 2 different tasks, but I can use either one of them as a utility knife, and that's the ones I grab usually. But
If I want a real flex blade, I just go grab the Rapala.
Yeah, well, I've got a Rapala in the drawer over there. I haven't had it out, and it's an 8-inch. It's a longer
Mhm.
one. It's not one of the shorter ones, but it's a very flexible blade. Also, that one comes in handy if I want to strip the skin off of a salmon fillet or
Yep.
something. That one, yeah, it makes a pretty quick work of that. But then again, the Victorinox will do that also, and I came across a hack for getting the skin off of a fillet that I thought was pretty ingenious. I haven't tried it yet, but I saw a video where somebody put their fillet face down in a pan, and they poured boiling water over the skin. And as soon as they were done pouring the boiling water over the skin, they could grab the corner of that skin and just peel it right off. It didn't take any effort whatsoever. And that might be a good way. I guess it depends on how you're planning to cook the fish. But I'm gonna do some salmon here before long because I'm working on a new glaze that I would like to use on some fish that's made from orange marmalade, and I'm going to be using that Laugan Ma chili crisp in with orange marmalade and some
That
other.
would be good.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it. I haven't got the whole thing planned yet, but
Sweet heat.
Huh?
Sweet heat.
Yeah, it's but that Laugan Ma is bringing a good bit of garlic into the picture as well. So I'm not sure. I'm going to have to make a couple versions of that before I actually put it on fish. I'm going to have to do some taste testing and figure that recipe out and figure out everything that's going to go in it. But it's going to be good. It'll be something that goes on the fish near the end of the cook. I'll set it in a measuring cup or something on the griddle while I'm cooking the fish and let it get hot, and I'll pour it on when the fish is basically done. I won't I won't really glaze the fish with it. It'll be more of a topping, more of a sauce, but it should be good and it'll be hot. Uh, but I got to work that out. I think those two flavors might work well together. So, Brian, what's your current lump and briquette charcoal of choice? My charcoal that I buy the Royal Oak from Walmart. Uh, and yeah, I don't care what people say. Royal Oak is that's the cleanest from the testing I've done, and it's not scientific, but it's as close to scientific as I can be on my back porch. Royal Oak outperformed everything I tried in terms of how hot it'll get and how long it'll cook. And I know nobody wants to believe that, but I, I don't know. What can I tell you? If if anybody has any faith in my opinion, I think it's some of the best charcoal you can buy. Take that as you will. But I like to buy the lump charcoal that's cheap, and that currently is the cheapest. I can still get Royal Oak for less than $1 a pound. And for briquettes, I don't really care. I buy Kingsford. The the B&B briquettes have an advantage in I like the larger briquettes sometimes, but Jeff, do you do anything with briquettes at all?
Not anymore.
Are you using any briquettes ever on the Huntsman?
Nope. Solid
No.
lump.
Well,
I just like the fact that you can reuse what you have left over. With
yeah,
briquettes,
you can.
it's hit or miss whether or not it's going to fire back up.
Well, I'm getting more conservative with the lump. The thing about lump for me is if I'm going to do direct searing, the only problem I have with lump is making sure that I've got a really nice even bed of heat without a bunch of hot spots or cold spots. And the briquettes, with all the pieces of the briquettes being the same size, I find it a little easier to create a consistent bed of heat.
More uniform.
Yeah, and you can do this with lump if you don't have any huge chunks of lump. You can't do it at all if you've got some of these softball sized pieces of lump, because you're going to have cold spots between the pieces where they're not together. If you've got your lump broken down, if I could have my way with lump charcoal, I would buy a lump charcoal every day. If somebody made a lump charcoal where every piece in the bag was about the size of a golf ball, to me that would be perfect charcoal. Yeah. And nobody wants to hear that. Nobody agrees with that. No,
they want nobody those big walks.
Yeah. If I could have my way with lump charcoal, every piece in the bag would be the size of a golf ball. That would be perfect in my mind. That would be the really right stuff. And but bigger is better is what sells charcoal for sure.
The only time I like using the real big charcoal is if I'm doing a rotisserie.
Mm-hmm.
So just bank 3-4 pieces up there, and you're good to go for your whole cook.
Yep. Gabriel sent me another box of charcoal that came in yesterday, and he says it's a mix with some of that AAA huge stuff. And I haven't opened it yet. It's sitting on the floor over here, but when I get a chance to open that box, I'll post a few pictures of it for you guys. I think I showed y'all last week or the week before sometime that Barbecue Daddy charcoal, or I wrote a review about it on the Man Cave Meals page a couple of weeks ago if you want to have a look at that. But that charcoal's, that in my mind, it's a very good South American coal. And if you like coal like Jealous Devil, Fogo, and Kamado Joe Big Block, this is what I would call a premium version of all of that. It's all white quebracho instead of a blend of that with other South American hardwoods. And it has Jeff, if you've cooked with charcoals before that are dominantly white quebracho, mm-hmm. It's got a distinctive aroma. And when I cook with that, I never add any additional smoking wood to it. No. that charcoal on its own is producing that flavor, and it's very unique. I think Fogo has a variety that's all white Cabracho, and I don't know if anybody else does. I've not kept up with it. Fogo, I've during the whole time I've been cooking, I've probably only used 10 or 12 bags of Fogo, and I've used some of their super premium and some of their regular, and I've had pretty good results with all of it. The super premium that I bought didn't do well in my testing that I did because it's hard to light. I ran into a little bit of that issue with the barbecue daddy with those all those big chunks. It takes a while to get them going. I think they need to be mixed. It needs to be mixed with some smaller stuff to get the heat going and get it up to temperature quickly. But once it's going, it'll go for a long time. But it's one of those situations where what I would ultimately want to do is take a half of a chimney of smaller pieces of lump charcoal and get those lit and ashed over, put them in the bottom of the charcoal basket on the Kamado Joe, and then put in 4 or 5 of those big, huge pieces of white Cabracho in on top of it and go from there. That I think would be a really good way to make that work. Uh, but the for briquettes, I don't really care as much. The Kingsford briquettes, it's once again I'll buy whatever's cheapest, and the B&B is not very expensive compared to some. I won't spend Jealous Devil money on briquettes. No,
I use Royal. When I used to do briquettes, I used Royal Oak.
yeah, I don't know if I've ever bought Royal Oak briquettes. I'll have to buy a bag of those next time I'm at Walmart because
Well, there for a while, the Kingsford was getting a kerosene type taste to them,
yeah,
and
I don't know.
I had a couple bags of that, and I said, "All right, enough of this," and switched over to Royal Oak, and never went back.
Right. Uh, the snake method for B&B. Yeah, that I don't have to do. I don't use briquettes very much for low and slow. Uh, you can. I just don't. That's another situation where I think lump is superior. I think lump, for the same reason Jeff's talking about reusability and whatnot. I think lump's better for low and slow because you can get less, you can get more BTUs of heat with less poundage of coal, and you
Hmm.
don't have all the ash to deal with. I mean, you're going to have ash, but you're not going to have as much. And I've done testing. I ran one of my classic Kamado Joes on Kingsford briquettes for 34 hours or something. I filled it nearly full of briquettes, but I did use a fan controller on it. I don't think I would have been able to pull that off without a fan controller because I think my
Yeah,
airflow would have choked up before it got that far. But I did run it with a
with the
fan.
ash, it would have. The
Yeah,
fan kept that ash from choking.
but everybody wants to say, you don't. They've got all the reasons in the world why you can't use or shouldn't use lump or briquettes in a Kamado, but you can. You most certainly can.
The only
But as far
downside
as
about it is you're going to get more ash.
I like using briquettes if I'm going to direct sear. I haven't done it recently because I don't have any briquettes on hand. And one of the things that I really hate that I've just discovered this in the last 2 years or so. Kingsford used to have sales. They would have sales at Memorial Day, the 4th of July, and Labor Day, where
Hmm.
you could get buy one get one free bags, or basically you could buy Kingsford lump on sale for what worked out to about 25 cents a pound. And back in my younger days of smoking, when I was cooking on my Weber Smoky Mountain, when I was cooking on my ugly drum smokers, and I was using a lot of briquettes, when those sales would come around, I'd buy 20 bags of charcoal. I would have 400 pounds of charcoal or 300 pounds of charcoal sitting around here when it would go on. I never bought it at full price, and they don't do that anymore. I don't see those sales for whatever the reason they've quit doing it. Um,
Well, here in Florida, you don't see sales on anything barbecue.
right. But I looked at B&B briquettes. The thing I like about the B&B briquettes is the big size. I do like that bigger briquette. Uh, it's it's a pretty good. Those briquettes are probably twice the size of a Kingsford briquette. They're a little more uniform in shape. They're more of a square instead of a little ball, a puffy looking ball like a Kingsford briquette. But uh, one of the things Kingsford briquettes do, and this I'm going to catch some hate for this too. The Kingsford briquettes, the smaller briquettes, when I light them up in my full size Kingsford chimney or my Weber chimney, by the time I start to get ashed over on the top of that chimney, most up to a third of the briquettes on the bottom are completely burned out. The larger briquettes survive that a little bit better, but there's a fix for that. And I'm going to tell you what it is, and you can take it as you will. The fix for that is to use starter fluid. Put your briquettes in, put your briquettes in your starter and squeeze starter fluid in over the top where the briquettes on the top have starter fluid on them, or the top half or so have starter fluid and the bottom half doesn't. That will cause those briquettes to light up a little more evenly and burn more evenly and more consistently. And before you go off on how bad the flavor you get from cooking over starter fluid is if you can still smell the starter fluid, it's not ready to cook. The starter fluid will burn out if you're putting food over briquettes that smell like starter fluid. Your briquettes are nowhere near ready to cook on yet. And I've been saying that for years also, but that's another. You get a lot of hate for talking about using starter fluid. Starter fluid's about as bad as
Taboo.
yeah, it's taboo. Starter fluid's about as bad as steak sauce, Jeff.
Yep.
But I
Good steak don't need no stinking
no,
sauce.
and if you get starter fluid catches a bad rat, but it's got its place in the world. You can use it, and it's the same thing. Now, match light's another story, but still, the match light charcoal has got starter fluid in it that is soaked through to the core. And you're not getting soaked through to the core when you just squirt it on the outside of these briquettes. It's not long enough, and I don't expect anybody to try what I just described, but that's one way you can get a chimney of briquettes going more quickly without burning out what's on the bottom of the chimney before the tops get lit. So, Brian says Kingsford sells. Costco has Kingsford on sale. Somebody needs to let me know when that's happening, and I'll run down to Costco. If you see Costco's an hour away from me. I'm a member, but I don't visit it but 3 or 4 or 5 times a year at most. It's almost not worth me having a membership, but every time I don't have a membership, there's something down there I want. So I'm gonna buy the membership. It's all ultimately costing me more money because I'm not saving the price of my membership by being a member. I don't shop there enough because it's an hour away. But Anthony, glad you could make it with us tonight. Anyway, it's good to see you, Anthony. I don't think Honorog's been in here tonight. Or maybe I got to see Honorog this week. Honorog was he and I met and he and his wife and son and my wife and I went to a distillery down in Statesville, North Carolina, but we were going to take the distillery tour and do a tasting, and I was going to buy some bourbon and bring home, but I got there a few minutes before Honorog did, and just as I was waiting on Honorog to pull up, my mom called, and my mom says, I'm on the way to the ER. I'm having chest pain. So as soon as Honorog pulled up, I had to tell him, man, I've got bad news. I said, I've got to go. Mom's going to the ER. So I left and didn't get to speak with him very long. And I feel real guilty about that because this is the second time he's been up to that distillery that's 45 minutes from my house, and I haven't had a chance to go meet with him. And I missed it. But I did wait a few minutes for him to arrive before I left. I didn't leave before he got there. So I did get to see him very briefly, but hopefully that opportunity will present itself again at some point in the future. And yes, mom's okay. She wasn't having heart issues. They ran a bunch of tests and they kept her overnight and they let her come home today, but it's she wasn't having heart problems, which is good. So that's that. But I was really looking forward to taking that distillery tour. The distillery that we were going to tour was Southern Distilling, which is these people, the people that make the Paragon, that I like so well. And they've got a couple of new offerings. They've got their non-wheated bourbon in a cask strength offering that I wanted to buy, and I didn't even take time to buy it before I left, but I can run back down there. My wife and I decided that we're going to go back down there one day and we'll take the tour by ourselves, and I'll buy some bourbon, and I'll probably just let her drive where I don't have to worry about how much tasting I go through while I'm in the tasting room. Yeah, I definitely don't want to get a DUI on the way home from a trip to the distillery. So, yeah, but mom's fine. She's not got anything complicated going on. It's probably acid reflux. So, what else have we got, Jeff? Have we got anything else we want to talk about this evening?
No, man, I've been in the mountains, so.
Yeah, Jeff has been vacationing in the mountains of northern Georgia. That resort you guys were at was beautiful. The pictures you sent back were crazy.
I've had that thing for 36 years. It's our happy place. I mean, it's quiet.
Yeah.
You can go out on pontoon boats to do trout fishing. There's all kinds of hiking trails, jeep trails, parks, playgrounds, pools, tennis, badminton, you name it, you can do it. Kayaking, there's kayaks you can rent.
Is that the place where your cabin is?
Yep.
That same place?
Yep.
Let's tag team Brian's question here, Jeff. You can go first.
Okay, KJ sent a coupon for 15% off an accessory. What's worth getting? I don't have the carbon griddle or the wok. Have most other stuff. Okay, so as I understand the question, which should you get, the carbon steel griddle or the wok? And I'm going to say I would get the wok, and I would opt for a standalone griddle. What about you, John?
I wouldn't get the wok, and you know why I don't like cooking on the wok on a KJ.
It's great.
It's not that it doesn't do a great job. I haven't had my hands on the KJ wok, but I think it's probably a very well made wok. But I don't like the heat flaring out around the edges of the wok on the Kamado Joe. It's very intense, and you're going to want to get some gloves that come halfway up your arm, probably.
Well,
work on that.
The regular heat resistant gloves, which come about halfway up your forearm, that's all you need. Okay. If you're doing it on the classic. Now, if you're doing it on the Big Joe, then you have even more heat coming out from around that.
Brian, do you have a Jotisserie? Let me know if you've got a Jotisserie. Because if you have a Jotisserie and don't have the Kamado Joe rotisserie basket, I might recommend that. I think it's quite expensive, but I think it's a really good item to have. I have through a gift from a good friend, I have the Half Moon pans, and I kind of like those. Those Half Moon pans If you don't have those, I think those are a good one.
My only
That's
complaint with
good.
the Half Moon pans is that I wish they sold as a set of two solids rather than a solid and the perforated one. Because
Okay, he's
I
got
don't
the
use the perforated
rotisserie. What's the back? I'm not sure what he's talking about
rotisserie
there.
in the back. Dojo
Maybe he's
all
talking about. Is
having
he talking about the basket? And not. Is that supposed to be basket?
that might be basket.
Basket. Yeah, he said basket. So uh, he's
Well,
got those.
going back to your original question, either one that you get, the wok or the griddle, you're gonna love. I'm gonna be point blank honest with you. You're gonna love them. Both of them do extremely well. You can do your stir fries on the griddle as well as in the wok.
He
Um,
says he's got the half moon surfaces, but is that the carbon steel half moon pans, Brian? Do you have those, or are you talking about like the cast
Soapstone.
iron and the soapstone? Uh, if you don't have the carbon steel half pans, I would definitely get those. I like those. And you can use I use those. I've used those on the Kamado Joe and I use them on the Huntsman also.
Mhm.
So uh
And sticking with the carbon steel line, the paella pan is great as well.
yeah, well I was gonna mention that. I think the paella pan, in my opinion, would serve as a griddle. I think you could use it as a griddle in some instances, depending on
Well,
what
in
you're
some
grilling.
instances, but remember, it's got a like a pebbled
Right.
texture bottom. So,
Yeah, but that'd
like
be fine.
if you want to do like pancakes or whatnot, you're not gonna
Yeah.
you smash burgers. You're gonna have little dimples in them.
He's got the soapstone and the cast iron. Brian, get the carbon steel pans. Get the carbon steel half. What do they call those, Jeff? Are they called the carbon the perforated one and the solid one? Are they called half moon pans or what are they
I
actually?
think that's what they're called. Let me look it
Because
up here real quick.
they're not a full half. They're
No.
not as they're let me just look at it here. The the Kamado Joe carbon steel accessories. It's these yeah, they call them the half moon pant set. These ones
Yep.
right here in the middle, Brian. That's what I would buy if I would buy that simply because I don't. I'm a bad source though because I think the griddle the carbon steel griddle is nice to have, but I wouldn't want to use the carbon steel griddle unless I had the connected Joe where I had some control of what was going on underneath it. Uh, the the paella pan is something that I would probably use. I would use the paella pan more than I would use the griddle because I would use it as a griddle sometimes. But if you want carbon steel, I would probably get these guys right here. I think those are excellent tools to have. So I don't know. Jeff recommends the griddle, and I recommend the half moon pan set. So there you have it. I'm 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 of
Brian,
the
what it
school.
basically comes down to is what are you going to cook the most?
Yeah.
Which one of them are you going to use the most? That's the one you should get.
The reason I like that perforated pan is I can put veggies in there, and
Mhm.
one of the things I like to do is broccoli florets in there, and I'll get them over a hot bed of coals in that pan, and I'll pour melted butter in over the top of them, and that melted butter runs through that perforation, and it causes it to flare up underneath there, where you get some flame kiss and you get a little bit of char on that, and you can do that with broccoli. You can do it with uh,
Cauliflower.
Brussels sprouts you could do cauliflower and you could do asparagus or green beans or it's a really good pan. Uh, and that that solid bottom Half Moon pan is a perfect surface. Like if you want to cook one or two smaller salmon fillets in
Or
there,
tuna fillets.
like skin down, it's perfect for a small searing surface. It's a really versatile tool if you get outside the box and think about what you can do with it. You could cook a steak in that. Uh,
Mhm.
you could cook a chicken breast in that if you want to do a solid surface cook. It's just got a lot of functionality. You could
And
put
the
you
nice
could
thing about it is not only can you cook your steak or your chicken, you can also throw your sauce for them right in on top
yeah
and
you could
finish it off with the sauce.
you could make a tomato sauce in that, or you could there's
A white
a
sauce,
unlimited number of
unlimited
things that,
sauces you can do.
yeah, you could make a pan sauce very quickly in a pan like that. And the thing I like about those pans, and that's the only carbon steel I own, by the way. I don't have any experience with any of the other carbon steel pieces, but these things have this nitride coating on them, and that I found to be pretty amazing. Don't waste your time seasoning it. It doesn't need a seasoning. In fact, it will not take it. And these people are going to tell you to season it. Just ignore that. When you rub oil on that, you'll watch it bead up. It will not even spread out smoothly on that surface. If you do that and buff it off like you're supposed to, there's basically going to be nothing on there to season.
And
So
those pans are a dream to clean. I mean,
yeah,
the griddle
you
I
get
just
yourself,
used the Grill Daddy
yeah.
wet. That thing is beautiful.
Make sure you've got some of those Kevlar high temperature gloves because those handles will eat you alive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that they
they
will.
will. Uh,
You
so
grab
and
onto it, you won't be able to let go.
those have gotten cheap. If you look at high temperature barbecue gloves on Amazon, you'll find 20 different pairs of them out there that are $15 or less. It's
And don't buy one pair, buy two.
Yeah, and I replace two pairs about every year.
Yeah.
I think I've currently got about four pairs here, but two of them are ready to be thrown away. They will not last you forever, but
No, but the
they're
reason why I say do the two is if one happens to get wet during the cook, you do not want to use it.
right. And don't waste your money on welder's gloves.
No.
Whoever tells you that you can pick up a hot item with welder's gloves has never picked up a hot item with welder's gloves before.
No.
That will burn
Welders
you
welders
severely.
gloves are just there to brush the sparks off.
They're there to keep stuff from landing on your skin from welding. They're not designed to pick up anything hot with for more than maybe 1 second. So don't do it. Okay. Hope we answered Brian's question and didn't confuse him even more. What did he say here? I only resisted the griddle and why because of storage space. Yeah, I can understand that. Do you save any money if you buy that bundle? I haven't done the math, but the whole carbon steel set they've got for $506.99. Let's see, 200, 350, 470, 5. Yes, you do save some money if you buy the whole set for 509. You save like $80 or $90 maybe. But then again, I don't know. Kamado Joe they need to expand their accessory line. Big Green Egg makes a fortune on accessories.
Kamado Joe
Yeah.
needs to do a lot right now.
Well, I don't know. I love
It's
my
not the
Kamado
company it
Joes.
was.
I love the Kamado Joe. I
So do I.
still think the Kamado Joe is the Swiss Army knife for the grilling and smoking world. It does everything. And there are some things it does better than others. And there are some things there are some grills that do certain things better than a Kamado Joe, but there's nothing else out there that has the versatility of the Kamado Joe right out of the box. Big Green Egg's not there. Big Green Egg, you can get a Big Green Egg configured to do as well as the Kamado Joe, but not out of the box. You got to buy accessories from them. The Big Green Eggs still don't come with everything you need. You know that the Kamado Joe coming with the divide and conquer is a big deal. So
Yeah, I'm hoping the Huntsman includes that.
James went. Yeah, Brian says. Yeah, James switched back to Big Green Egg. I'm
Bye,
not sure.
James.
I haven't talked. James was here with us last week for a little while. I saw him. He was posting some comments, but um, I've had James on here several times. I really like James, and James is very good at what he does. James has built a following in the social media world at a very good rate. He's got a lot of followers, and he has done it all with YouTube, which is difficult to do because you can't buy YouTube followers. You have to get them organically. Right? At least I don't know, maybe not, but James, I know James is not cheating the YouTube system, but the James, I haven't asked James why he made the switch back. He's posted video content on that, but I think it's opened up him switching back to Big Green Egg has opened up a lot of doors for him for new content. He's going to be able to reproduce all the same sort of content that he did with Kamado Joe back on the Big Green Egg side for Big Green Egg's audience, which I don't know. I'm subscribed to James' channel, but I'm subscribed to so many YouTube channels. I don't have time to watch everybody's content because some of the people I subscribe to post something every day, and some of them don't post something but once a week or once a month. It's hard to keep up with. But James was originally Big Green Egg. He switched from Big Green Egg to Kamado Joe at some point in the past, and then he's going back to Big Green Egg. But I've James, he and I are a lot different in our approach to what we're doing. Not so much the approach, but the content. James is James's audience is, I think, more interested in what James does with the equipment itself. James's videos aren't mostly about cooking, even though he's cooking and most of his videos, the video is not necessarily about the cook. It's about how the cook's being executed. It's about the equipment behind the cook. Does that make sense, Jeff?
Whatever you say, John.
Well, I think it's about most of James.
I
Most of
don't
James's
I don't
content.
follow James, and you know why I don't
Yep.
follow James. So
Well,
I mean,
I
I'm
follow
just going
him
to leave it at
because
that.
yeah, okay. Well, that's okay. But I admire what he's done and the time he's done it in. I was sitting back looking at my channel, uh, and I can show you what happened to me. And this is something I kind of regret at this stage. Uh, in my How do I get to my analytics here? Uh, this thing keeps changing, but what happened when I went exclusive with Kamado Joe? I don't regret doing it. I don't regret going exclusive with Kamado Joe, but looking back at it from where I am now, I wouldn't do it again. Uh, the allure of being exclusive with Kamado Joe and the money that Bobby paid me to do that made it worthwhile in the beginning, but later on down the road, I was losing out because my I can't figure out here how to get to. Oh, I'm not logged in as myself over here. That's why I can't see the analytics. I'll show you guys some of that next week. But when you got a YouTube channel that's going gangbusters like mine was at the time I went exclusive with Kamado Joe, when you stop, Bobby wanted me to stop posting the Man Cave Meals. He wanted me to post exclusively to Kamado Joe. And what he was paying me to do that at the time was worth it. It was very worthwhile because I was going to make more money per month doing 4 videos a month for him than I was going to make in my best months of YouTube revenue. And I was going to get that year round rather than just in the summer months when YouTube videos are really running hard. But you can look at my analytics, and I'll show you some screenshots of that next week. That's something I wanted to show next week on my last episode. But you could see where my channel was growing. There's an arc where it's going up, and then it stopped and it flattened out for quite a few years because I wasn't posting any content to that channel. And later on down the road, about the time the Kamado Joe 3s came out, I talked Bobby into letting me start posting to Man Cave Meals again. But by that time, Man Cave Meals had been dead for so long, I couldn't revive it. And I've never been able to revive it. Even publishing the video content to it once a week, I never could get the engagement back that I had back then. So it's kind of a loss for me. Had I stayed where I was on Man Cave Meals rather than going exclusive with Kamado Joe, by today I expect that I would have had 500,000 subscribers maybe. It's very possible at the rate I was growing back then, because it was growing exponentially when I suddenly stopped posting content to it. It was growing at a rate like I was growing at about the same rate Greg from Ballistic Barbecue was growing. I don't know if any of you guys follow Ballistic Barbecue, but he and I were growing at about the same rate, and his channel was slightly a little older than mine. He had been doing it a little longer than I had, but he and I were growing at about the same rate at the time I stopped. And I feel like had I stuck with Man Cave Meals, I'd have been better off in a financial aspect by doing that. And it's interesting that several years ago, Greg Mervich from Ballistic Barbecue retired from his day job, and he's exclusively YouTube content now. He's turned his hobby into a career, into a career. So, and but that James is doing that as well. James has made a career out of it. He's got enough of a following and he's able to do that. And any way you want to look at that, I think it's admirable that he's able to do that, because that's his goal.
I agree with that. I just don't like his content.
Yeah, that's fine.
But he's doing what he has to do to make it his business.
Everybody doesn't like, it's hard to there's YouTubers out there that I don't like also, but and James has made content that I've taken offense to. And a lot of it's the way he some of the Kamado Joe equipment. One of the things I know about James is James does not like the automation stuff. He does not like pellet grills. He does not like things like the iCommand, the Fireboard, and all these other automation tools. And it's like when he got I think it was the iCommand. Or no. It was the Pellet Joe. It was the Pellet Joe that I think really, I don't think he gave it a fair shake. The first thing he did on a Pellet Joe is expose the weaknesses of the Pellet Joe. There's no doubt about that. He could look at it and tell right away what it wasn't going to do well, and that's what he started out on. The Pellet Joe is not the best tool for low and slow smokes because the heat deflector is too close to the grill, and it will scorch the bottom of your meat. And that's the first thing he highlighted. And I think that's basically all he did. He scorched the bottom of a brisket with one, and then hung it up as a not a viable tool. And the Kamado Joe Pellet Joe was a tool. Are they still selling that, Jeff? Is that still?
Yep.
It's still out there. Okay, I didn't know if they were or not, but
best wing cooker around.
There are certain things that grill does very well, and there are certain things it doesn't do very well. And low
and slow is one of those things that it doesn't do very well.
Low and slow, it sears better than any other pellet grill on the market, though. It does.
Sears and does wings. You will get crispy wings.
That heat shield underneath there will get red hot, and it'll sear. It'll sear with the best grills out there. It sears better than any other pellet grill I've ever cooked on. But he wanted the Kamado Joe Pellet Joe to be a pellet version of the Kamado Joe, which it's just not. And I don't know. He had a he did something with a Traeger, and he didn't like the Traeger either. But I don't think he's liked anything that has automation, which is his prerogative. You know, he wants to do it all. He wants to be hands on, and now a lot of people are like that. The guys that cook on offsets, which James also has a couple of really high end offset smokers. You want to put the time in to smoke on one of those. That's where the best results come from, no doubt about it. But anyway, you know, enough about James. I don't dislike James for any particular reason, other than I don't think he gave some grills a fair shot at the bigger picture with Kamado Joe. But that's his prerogative. You know, like he tells everybody up front, I'm not being paid for. You know, they're not buying my opinion. He says, I'm going to tell you what I think about it. And that's admirable in its own way, because a lot of people, when they're handed something for free, they feel compelled to give it a good review. And I have done what I consider to be a good job with that in one aspect. I don't always like everything that somebody's handed me for free. But here's what I've done when that situation comes up. Number one, I've been offered a lot of product that I've turned down. And if I'll turn down product that I don't think I'm going to like. If somebody offers me something to do a review on, if it's something I know right off the top of my head I'm not going to like, I just say no. I just don't do it. The other thing is, if you go look at what my videos that are called reviews, they're not really reviews. What I like to do is I like to call it a walk around demo. And a good example of that, the most recent one I think I've done on something that I didn't like, was that A-Smoke pellet grill. It's I think it's still on there. It is. There's a video out there called First Looks, A-Smoke AS700P pellet grill and smoker. I did not like that pellet grill at all, and I offered it back to those people. I said, if you want to send a truck to come pick this thing up, I said, I won't publish my video and you can have it back. But they wanted me to publish my video and they didn't want the grill back. But I didn't rag on it during the video. I didn't complain about it. But what I did was what I call my walk around demo and features. I just showed you what the features of that grill were. And if you look at the video and listen to it, I not once recommended or said I think you should buy it. I'm just saying, here's what it is. And I did a cook on it. I think I only did one cook on it, or maybe two. But that's one of the things I would do for somebody is I would do the walk around demo. And the problem is that most people perceive that as an endorsement if I did that video, because I don't like to do negative reviews. I don't. If I think I'm going to do a negative review on something, I tend to just avoid it altogether. I would rather not do the review than do a negative review. Does that make sense, Jeff?
Yep.
Can you think of something I've reviewed negatively?
No.
I mean,
and I'm the same way. I wouldn't do the review. Yeah, if I got something and I didn't like it, I just wouldn't do the review of it.
Right. I love, ultimately, on stuff that I do the walk around demos on, like take for instance the Lone Star. I love that grill, and I did one walk around feature review on that grill, one feature demo or whatever you want to call it, and then I made 18 cooking videos on it right afterwards. And at that point I'll let you know. And that's the same way with the Huntsman. I did when I got the Huntsman, when they sent me that, I did the walk around review, the walk around feature demo, and I only did one cook video on that one, on the because at the time I told them, I said I'm going to be getting away from this. I only made one cooking video on the Huntsman, but I've made a lot of posts about cooking on the Huntsman that aren't videos, and I've published those in a lot of places. I really like the Huntsman. Uh, the Huntsman, however, the only thing I don't like about the Huntsman is that it costs about the same amount of money as the Classic Joe. There's not a lot of difference in the price between the Huntsman and the Classic Joe. The cooking capabilities of the two are different. I like that the Huntsman is more of a Weber kettle design than a Kamado because of the
But John,
shape.
you can't compare the Huntsman to the Classic. The
No,
Classic doesn't
but
come with a controller. You can
right,
compare it to the Connected Joe,
right,
but you
and
can't
still,
connect. You can't make the comparison with even with the price. The price being, about the same because actually, if you look at it in the Huntsman, you're getting far more because you got the controller, but
right.
you don't have
But
with the
the
with the
what's
Kamado.
the connected Joe? The connected Joe costs $16.99,
1699.
so it says $1,700. So the uh, the classic Joe, the classic one, the bottom end
Is what,
is what's
699?
$6.99 or $7.99, and for an additional $200, you can put your own controller on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same Joe, but you're still at under $1,000, and you've got a
Yeah.
controllable Kamado Joe. It's just not Kamado Joe's controller, but I like the versatility I have of cooking surface on the Huntsman more than I like the Kamado Joe. The Kamado Joe is conical in shape. The heat's all coming from the middle down at the bottom,
Yep.
and I've got a big, wide, round cooking surface where I can put charcoal in various places on it. I could have 4 zones of different heat levels
Yep.
on this grill if I wanted it. And with their next level rack, you can get down really close to the coals.
Yep.
So that's $169 upgrade, something like that. So
Yep.
at that point, you're in the $1,000 realm with that grill. That grill, the Huntsman. What's retail on the Huntsman?
I think 899.
So it's so at $900, you'll be over $1,000 by the time you add that. So at at that level, you're basically at the same price point as the original Classic Joe with your own add-on heat controller. But I'm having a good time cooking on the Huntsman, and I've been splitting about 50-50 between the Kamado Joe and the Huntsman, but I really like the Huntsman. I haven't done everything on the Huntsman that I've done on the Kamado Joe. I haven't done a have I done a pork butt on the Huntsman yet, Jeff?
I thought you had.
Uh,
I've done everything on the Huntsman. I did the brisket. I've done the pork butts. I've done the standing rib roast. I did the pork roast, pork
I did
tenderloin,
beef ribs. I did beef
beef
ribs
ribs.
on the
Yeah.
Huntsman. I haven't done a whole chicken on the Huntsman yet. I need to do that, and I haven't done a brisket on it, and I probably won't because I don't think I'm ever going to cook a whole brisket again. I don't care for brisket enough to do it. I'm going to buy a brisket and I'm going to mix it with some chuck to make hamburger, but I'm
Well,
going
I'll
to
tell you
grind it
what.
all.
Since I got these Terrace Major from Wild Fork for $7.99 a pound.
Yep.
I mean, they can't buy ground beef for $7.99 a pound.
I'll pick up some of those next time I'm at the U.S. Food Chef store. They sell it there. They don't call it Terrace Major. It's something.
Petite
It's
tender.
called. I don't think that's what they call it either. I'll have to look, but I saw it. I saw it in the boxes over there, but it was. I don't think it was called. They didn't call it Terrace Major, and I don't think they called it Petite Tender. It was called something else, but it's a Terrace Major. I can tell by
Well,
looking
these
at
ones
it.
from Wild Fork, I mean, you have absolutely zero trimming to do. I mean, they
Yeah.
come pre-trimmed. They're ready to put your rub on and put them on the grill, and they come out so freaking good.
So, John, I got rid of mine. Jeff still got his.
Still got mine. It still works like a big dog.
Yep. Have you gotten one of? No, I haven't, Brian. And in fact, I was in Walmart today and I didn't see it. I don't know if they still have it or not. I don't have one. I don't. I'd love to have one, but I'm not going to spend the money. So, yeah, Brian, I appreciate you going back and looking at those. And guys, next week I'm gonna post on the Man Cave Meals page. One of the last posts that I'll make on that page will be a video index. I've got my video index updated to where you can have it in a PDF file that you can search if you want to. But once again, on the Man Cave Meals YouTube channel, if you go to the playlists section of that channel, I have all of my video content aggregated in those playlists, not just my Man Cave Meals content. My Kamado Joe content is in those playlists, and my Atlanta Grill Company content is in those playlists. So everything I've ever made is in those playlists. See, half of the videos that I've made are not on the Man Cave Meals YouTube channel. They're on Kamado Joe and Atlanta Grill Company. So in order to see everything I've made all in one place, you kind of have to look on those playlists or look in my on this video index that I'll share next week. So that'll be out there.
Yep, it's 10 o'clock there, John.
Yep, I know. We've run long, so Brian, it's on Highway 70, just off of downtown Hickory on I don't know how to describe to you. I don't know how familiar you are with the area. It's in the building where the old Kmart used to be, which hasn't been there for years. It's if you come off of Interstate 40 at the 123 exit and go north on Highway 321, the first exit you come to is Highway 70. If you get off there and hang a right, it's at the first or second stoplight up the hill on the right. It's not hard to find. So anyway, guys, we've run really long, so we're going to shut down. And next week I'm not going to have a new cook. I'm going to talk about some of my favorite cooks that I've done, and hopefully give you some inspiration for things that you need to have in your cooking repertoire going forward that aren't the big barbecue meats. So guys, have a good week, and we'll see you next Thursday.